Good evening, USA. Good morning, Asia. I'm Chris Tang. I'm the Faculty Director of the UCLA Center for Global Management. Today's event is hosted by our center, and it is also sponsored by our Anderson graduating class of 2022. Over the next hour, we'll be discussing with our Amber alumni of class 2022, David Chen and Chen and Motamedi, about how they start and manage a company in different countries, including the United States, China, Vietnam, and beyond. We will explore how they cope with the inherent challenges. Before I introduce them, let me say a few words about today's topic. The landscape of global business is ever evolving, marked by interconnected markets and geopolitical tensions. Navigating these complex environments requires agility, perseverance, cultural awareness, and strategic thinking. We will discuss practical approaches to unlock these new opportunities and drive sustainable growth when starting a new business in the foreign markets. Specifically, we would like to understand how one can start a business and operate overseas and operate them successfully. To examine these questions, I'm delighted to welcome our guests who will share their on-the-ground experience in starting and managing business in different markets. Our first guest is David Chen. David is one of our proud executive MBA alumni of class 2022, and he's also a board member of our Center for Global Management. He is a former and president of C&G International in Qingdao, China. He's also the founder and president of A1 Solutions based in the United States. His company provides holiday gift packing solutions for major retailers such as Costco and Walmart. Next, Chen and Motamedi is also one of our proud executive alumni at class 2022. He's also on our board of CGM. Chen is the founder of EV4All, providing EV charging infrastructure for apartment buildings in the Los Angeles area. Also, he's also the managing director of DAS International, a real estate management company. He just started another short-term rental ventures in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening. So, Chen, let me start with you. Can you talk about your rental business in Vietnam and your EV4All ventures?
Of course, and thank you for starting with me and for having me here, Professor Tang. For EV4All, we really focus on being able to service mom and pop property owners, whether they're apartment buildings or workspaces, from A to Z, the whole white glove service, so we can democratize access to EV charging. And then for the one in Ho Chi Minh City, I realized as a tourist and someone going there all the time, staying in hotels were very inconvenient. And there was a market for business travelers and tourists who want to have a more convenient place. So I was able to link up with other alumni from UCLA and acquire some other apartments over there so we can basically Airbnb or VRB them out to tourists and business travelers who want to have a place that has, a kitchen, 2 bedrooms, a bit more convenience for them. And we do charge a premium for it, but we also give them airport, shuttle service and other services that they can't necessarily get from a hotel.
Wow, it seems both business is focusing on certain niche markets,
Correct.
Like the EV4All, and hopefully it is accessible and also affordable, right?
Correct.
I'll come back to that later. Now, David, move on to you. So can you share with us about your original business, your C&G International in Qingdao, and then how you gradually expand into the United States?
Yes. First of all, thank you, Professor, for having me. It's an honor to be here. I'm a business founder and a manager doing business in multiple countries. We have our manufacturer based in Qingdao, China, and offices in some other China cities for some other functions. We have a couple of trading companies in Hong Kong to handle some sourcing and purchasing work. And we have 3 full function operation centers here in the US, Brea, Fontana, and the third one is in Chicago.
Wow.
Our main business is, Professor mentioned, is to provide holiday gift pack solutions with food and home good combined. If you have ever been to a major retail store in this country during the holiday season, there's a good chance you have seen some of our products. We supply more than half the quantity in this very niche category in the US market. And right now we are expanding. We are on a due diligence process of acquiring a factory in Mexico as a measure of diversification of the the operation portfolio. What do we say is that's our main business.
Well, thank you. So I will come back to you later, David, about the tariffs. That is ever-changing tariffs from Mexico. I'll come back later. Now, both of you all have running the business before you come back to UCLA for the Anderson School. So you're already so successful already. Why do you even bother to come back to school? What can we actually offer you, and what did you expect to get out of our MBA program? David, Sean, I'll start with you.
So I didn't know what I didn't know. And I've always wanted an MBA. And I figured, look, COVID was happening. What is out there that I may not even know exists? I worked in healthcare for pretty much all my life. And I realized that healthcare may or may not be the future. So I wanted to go to Anderson to kind of open my horizon. And EV charging was something I never even considered getting into. But BCO was the reason why it actually happened. And the Innovation Challenge, Venture Accelerator, NAP competition. If it wasn't for Anderson, EV4All never would have existed. So I'm very grateful that I came to Anderson because I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know EV charging would have been an actual viable business at all.
Wow, this is so refreshing. We know that many leaders will never admit that he or she doesn't know something. They always know everything. So it takes a bravery and leadership to admit that there's many things we still don't know. That's why we go back to school. That is really inspiring. Thank you. David, what's your take on that? You already doing so well in Qingdao, into getting business in the US. You already have many locations in Hong Kong and whatnot. So what can our school and this exact MBA program can offer you?
Thank you, Professor. You are very kind. I think successful is a very generous description. I think I still have a lot of room to improve my business and improve my own personality, everything. So inspiration, I would say, it's easy, simple way to say the inspiration. I'm come to Anderson to look for inspiration to advance my business to a new level. We've been doing okay. So our business has come to a certain level. I think for further progress, need more strategic planning through more rational reasoning instead of relying on like instinct or experience as I had been doing. So Anderson is the best place in Southern California for that purpose. And also it was part of my personal challenge actually. So I jokingly shared with my classmates, it's part of the plan to fight my midlife crisis. I set up, yeah, seriously. So business is good. I'm lucky. I have a good team to take care of the daily operation. We've been enjoying good growth, steady linear growth. Life is good, but what's next? Right? As an entrepreneur, you have to keep asking yourself, what's next? So yeah, I needed inspiration for that. So I need to challenge myself to get myself out of the comfort zone. So I set up 3 goals 10 years ago. Started running, launched a business in America, and quit smoking. I was a horrible smoker. I smoked more than 30 cigarettes a day 10 years ago. Now I'm totally free from smoking, clean from smoking. And I was exercise hater. Thank you. Yeah, I was exercise hater. I hated every kind of exercise. And now I'm a marathon runner. I finished 19 marathons in the last 10 years.
Wow.
And our business, thank you. Our business in America has grown more than tenfold. So
wow.
that's it's a part of my personal challenging plan.
Well, thank you.
He also did a 777, by the way. 7 marathons, 7 continents, 7 days. Like that was insane.
That was all fun and awesome.
David, your story is so inspiring. And also that says these days, rational reasoning is in short supply. So I think it's really wonderful for you to share in terms of your commitment and also your goals. So I think that this is a very good lessons for all of us. So as sometimes we need to plan for goals. You may not achieve it, but at least you have a goal, you know that the direction you're going. This is really very inspiring. Thank you. Now, I know that, David, I know that you have been successful venture in Qingdao, then you want to expand in the US, all right? But then, in the US retailers, they may not familiar with CNG, and then that's how you start the A1 solutions, right? So how do you get to the customers in the US to switch their vendor from the existing one for packaging to you? So what is your secret sauce? What is a secret success recipe? We want you to declare and unveil it.
But no, the retailers in this country, when we came here in all industry, the customer in all industry, they were not familiar with what we are proposing. So that was the good news. That means we were creating a new recipe in this industry. Of course, you don't start a business venture without the proper research. We did our research, we identified the market opportunity, we formulated our value proposition, and we started operation here. Professor, you're asking me the secret sauce. It's actually, we started, our customer acquisition strategy was pretty simple, dumb, not sophisticated at all. We researched the main industry player. We bought some of their products. We did a reverse engineering. We did that's what we do. We did the cost analysis, and we use our best possible Chinglish to write the email. I'm new in this country. I'm an English learner, so you can imagine my English from my exotic accent. Probably you can tell. You know? So we use the best possible Chinglish to write an email, ask for meetings. Many of them ignored us. Some responded, and those who responded now are our core customers. Once we started working with them, we make sure they cannot quit us. I usually, quite often I joke with my team. So we are addictive. We need to make sure our customer, once they study, they get addicted to us, to our quality, to our price, service. That's what we do. That's how, very simple, dumb way to compete in the market, I think. That's our secret.
But David, you may think it's simple. We've seen a lot of American business, they don't operate it this way, right? So I think that also raises questions. How come, right? If you look at a lot of companies, they don't really take care of the customers. For example, we always pay all this internet bill, then you see the promotion is much lower price, right? You're paying a much higher price. So they don't take care of the existing customers and they really actually alienate the existing customers, right? But you do the opposite now. So I think that you are being humble. Humility is really one of the virtues. And I think this is wonderful for you to exhibit this kind of humble approach to approach customers. Now, given now everyone using Copilot to write email, your Chinglish maybe help you to stand out because now all the emails are perfect, right? Hey, differentiation, you never know. People are tired of all this perfect, flowery, generated by AI, very boring, right? But now you come up with the words, wow, we don't know this word. It turns out Chinglish.
It might kill the exotic charm though, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So you never know. It's differentiation. So I think that sometimes it's also, your comments also reminds me of an idea. A lot of time when you always have self-doubt. You always say, I'm not tall, I'm not big, I'm not white, I'm not this, I'm not that, right? We find excuses why we fail. Instead, we should turn it around and said, this is me. I am going to offer value. I try to make my efforts. That is what you're showing. Yes, you're not American, you don't speak perfect English, and you're not white. They may think not, right? You can think about many reasons why you cannot be successful, but you've proved otherwise. So that means that actually America, people still give people a chance. So I think that is something we should not lose sight. So don't use your negative to drag you down. You have to figure out how to pivot to make it become your strength. Yeah? So thank you for sharing with us. All right,
he
Sean.
forgot something important.
Yes?
When he first came, I know his story well. When he first came, he actually went and knocked on people's doors and cold called the hell out of them. So like that's something a lot of people don't do, or like MBA graduates think they can just hire someone to do. That's why I think a lot of people fail. You can't just hire someone to do your BS job for you. You have to actually make those calls. That's what David did when he came here, is he made the calls himself. He went and knocked on the doors. That's why they gave him a chance. If he hired some intern to do it for him because the intern's free or he's too good to do it, they would have ignored the intern. Because he did it himself is why they actually responded to him.
So that the customer would believe in him because he actually knocked on the door.
Correct.
Right? Sean, tell us your story. Your EV4All, well, compared to Tesla charging stations, you are small operations.
Correct.
But it's a niche market. Correct. You're doing an apartment and all this. Then the question is that how do you sell your value proposition to the apartment's landlord or ownership? So they don't know you, they don't know how do you make them feel comfortable to believe in you.
So I do exactly what he does right now. Is I'm the one who actually makes those calls, who goes and meets them, who talks to them, who emails them, who contacts them, and they see that. And a lot of my clients actually require me to put a key man clause in my contract because they're like, if your company sells, we don't want you to leave. Or if you leave, we want to make sure you're there for a certain amount of time. And that shows me that actually being physically there and physically calling them and being present is one of the main reasons why they're working with me. Because they've told me that they'll try to work with Tesla and Tesla will ignore them or won't call them back. Same with Bling, ChargePoint, etc. They don't get calls back or it's a 1-800 number. But with me, they have my cell phone. They can call me, text me, email me, God knows whatever. And I respond. Even if I'm in Asia, I'll respond to them. So they like that. And that's why they put the key man clause in there so that no matter what, even if the company gets bought out, I have to be on the contract or I have to be employed by the company. And part of it really just shows that you can't hire someone to do these jobs. Maybe when you get really, really big at Elon's level, sure. But at that point, it's different. I can't relate to that right now. But at majority levels, you need to really be involved. You can't just hire an intern or hire someone to do your job for you. And a lot of my business comes from our Anderson network. We've done zero marketing. Our CAC is absolutely zero because we don't need to do it. All of it comes organically. All the business comes from, we did a property, they liked it, they referred us to their friends, family, who brought their property to us, who then compounds and compounds and compounds and compounds from there, allowing our CSC to be zero. And by keeping that zero, me being involved and having the key man clause in there allows them to feel comfortable to work with us.
Wow, this is really showing in terms of your persona plays a role and also you being out there. I know that a lot of our MBAs, they study entrepreneurship. In their mind is that, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, but I hire someone else to kick the tire. So this one shows that it doesn't work that way. You have to do the work because otherwise you do not know what works, what doesn't work because the information is distorted because you rely on someone else to tell you what the situation is, right? So I think that is also a key learning lessons. Now, let me follow on to your questions, your new ventures in Vietnam. You never been to Vietnam until you joined the GI program. Right. And what makes you think that this rental business is a good opportunity? Because you don't know the market enough. So how does it go?
So during Global Immersion, with Lucy and a couple others who are here, I went on the trip. I got to meet alumni there. I really enjoyed my time. And then I went back again on my own as tourists. I really realized that staying in hotels is not what I enjoy. And a lot of times when I want to solve a problem is, what is a problem I'm feeling? And if I feel a problem, others are probably feeling it too. What is the solution for that problem? I felt the same way with the EV business. And I figured, okay, this is a business happening right now for tourists with Airbnbs. And I met a Anderson alumni there who graduated, I don't know. He's your age, so a long time ago. Anyways, I'm kidding.
Sure, I love you.
Anyways, I realized that by having the Anderson network there, I could build trust. Not so much in people I don't know, but because he's from Anderson, I'm from Anderson, we have a similar network, I could trust him. So I learned a lot from him. And he has a business there already doing this. He has several units there. So I figured, okay, you already have a large amount of units. Why don't I work with you, learn from you? And I didn't do that many units because I figured, look, at worst, I made an investment and I learned from it. At best, the investment works out, I make a profit and I increase it there. But a key part of it is I had to go there again and again, and I had to be there on site. I had to go see the units, I had to go talk to the people, because we have cleaners there, we have people who book the unit. A lot of that I have to delegate, but I have to show my face and I have to show up and be like, okay, what unit works, what unit doesn't work? Why do I want that? And if I didn't actually fly there and show up, a lot of it wouldn't work out. And a lot of legality between Vietnam and here, I won't go into on a live broadcast, but you definitely want to hire a consulting firm there who specializes in it, because it's definitely complicated. It's different doing business in Vietnam than the US.
Sure, agents can help you to smooth things out in many ways. Yes, we fully agree with you on that. So that means that there is still some risk.
Right.
I'm glad that you have Anderson alumni, the network. So I think this is also a good reminder. A lot of times, well, how do you start a business? Actually, we have resources here. We have been operating for 100 years at Anderson School. So we have tens of thousands, 100,000 alumni. They may not be all your friends, but you don't need that many friends. You start with small, and then they have good experience. They build trust. Then with the word of mouth, that's how it starts. Right. But then the question is that if you do everything, can you grow the business? You run out of time. Why with the technology, you could hire assistant using a tablet or cell phone to check the properties. So in that case, we save you time. If you're flying there, it takes a long time to fly to Vietnam. Mm-hmm. So the question is, how do you scale up your business?
So I'm not comfortable yet scaling it there. I need to spend more time, learn more about it. But the beauty of it is, whether it's EV business or this, most of my business can be done remotely. So a lot of my EV charging business is done remotely. I don't have to be on site for a lot of it. And while it is important to do a lot of the grunt work yourself, it's also important to delegate. Like David has a fantastic team. I have a fantastic team. A lot of times when I'm in Asia and I need something done, like I can tell Michelle to do something for EV4All, I can tell Israel, I can tell Noel, etc. Like we have a fantastic team. So yes, I'm definitely going to be on site for majority of the things, but having a smart, good, and effective team is paramount to being able to succeed. And David mentioned I've met his team in China. They are fantastic. And if he ever wants to change them, I'll beat him up because I love them. Seriously, like don't ever get rid of them, especially Sean or Christina, don't get rid of them.
Obviously, David runs operations in China, in Hong Kong, in the US, in different locations. He needs a good team. Now, that is a good point. Now, so David, I'd like to come back to you. You know how to operate in China. Then you come to US, yes, you find customers, but getting customers is part of the equations. You have to execute to deliver. Did you encounter any challenges given the truth of the matter right now would be like the relationship in China and US is not the strongest. Were there any challenges you have encountered and how do you overcome that?
A lot of challenges every day till today. a lot of challenges, a lot of difference. I thought we were very well prepared. I read a lot about America before I came. About American history, poetry, movie, TV show, Harvard Business Review, everything. But when I came here, I found it yeah, you know a lot, but you know nothing to operate on daily basis. I didn't even know how to write a check. Honestly, I don't know. So a lot of challenge, the legal, liability, tax code, everything. But the good news is you can always get a professional help on most of things, like legal liabilities, so tax code. You can work with good lawyers or CPAs. The biggest challenge for me is actually the cultural difference. The geopolitical tension thing is not really in daily life. You don't encounter someone talk about it. Let's talk about the political tension between China. No, But in managing business or in operation, you encounter the cultural challenge every day. It's so different. I thought I knew. I watched a lot of Hollywood movies, but it turned out the real life is very different from the movie. So you cannot have a cultural coach to be with you all the time on everything. So I'll give you an example. So I shared it with people. So in China, if you call someone a pretty girl, hey, pretty girl, so often it's most of the time it's taken as a compliment. It's a friendly greeting to start a conversation. But here in America, so I had my lessons. So someone could take it as aggression, could get into trouble. So this nuance, so you can never find out from any book. You can only find out by being on the ground to learn every day. The biggest challenge, a lot of things. But with that said, though, don't be terrified. So still a lot to learn. I think a cultural adaptation is a lifetime project. You have to keep learning all the time. But the good news is after all, we are all humans. So we have a lot more in common than in difference. A lot of the values, like Professor mentioned, humility, kindness, generosity, honesty. Those things are universally appreciated in every culture. If you treat people with real, with real authenticity or humility or sincerity, people can feel you. So I made mistakes. I apologize. I do better next time. So most of the time, you'll be fine. So a lot of things can go across cultural gaps. So
you're so mean to me all the time.
So another cultural difference. Quite often I'm very mean to Sean. That's our old buddy way to show our love. That's actually, So, but sometimes Sean really get offended. Seriously.
I don't get offended. I just get you back.
Another live example right here. Let me use it as an example. So a lot of things can go across cultural gap, can go across the language barriers. Drew James Gordon. Drew is our classmate, Ember 2022. He's a veteran Army officer. He's a very patriotic American white man from the state of Washington. It cannot be more different, culturally, racially, or academically. He was the nerd on our study group. So I was the dumb student, in the group. So, but that didn't stop us from, becoming the best friend. That the brotherhood, the friendship, you can feel it. It's just I'm not American enough to get all his jokes. Sometimes he sends me jokes through the Instagram channels all the time. Sometimes I don't get it. So this is an American joke, But that didn't stop him from flying down to support us from Seattle today. He's going to fly back tomorrow. But he came down just for today. So this is cultural difference is the biggest challenge. But at the same time, I want to say is that don't be terrified by that. You go to China, do business, people get offended by some of your thing, like when Chinese people give you a gift, you American, when you open in front of him, that's considered rude in China. You offend people, but it's okay as long as you have your love, your sincerity, or your authenticity, you'll be fine. So that.
No, that is really a good lessons for us to learn all. Yes, there are cultural gaps, regardless of who you are. But I think as long as you're genuine, being authentic, not being hateful, and people give you the benefit of the doubt, then you have to correct it. But I think that in terms of cultures, it's changing everywhere. United States, the culture has changed a lot. But in China, the same way. So every time I go there, there's new slangs. So I have to ask them, what does it mean? Because I don't know what it means. Even in US, there are a lot of slangs that you do not know the same thing about British. So every single culture has their own uniqueness. So we see that is the fun learning aspect. not something you despise. So I think that is the key, right? So for example, Drew sent you a joke, you don't understand this, well, you can ask him, Mr. Drew, why is it funny, right? That could be a good question because you can now ask ChatGPT can actually give the answer too.
Yes? Sure, I respond more. I promise, with ChatGPT.
That is very good.
Could
Now,
be your age difference too.
now, Sean.
Oh my God.
Now, let me come at you. Talk about cultural gap. So, when you try to operate in Vietnam, have you encountered any cultural gap that you have to deal with, and how do you overcome that?
So, being a white male in Asia gives me a lot of advantages.
We know
So
that.
it's the opposite of what he had mentioned. Automatically being a Westerner there allows people to I guess, trust me more. A lot of Vietnamese people feel like other Vietnamese people will scam them, but they feel like a Westerner can either get scammed or they can trust them. So I have to be extra careful to not get scammed because they do try to scam me all the time, no question about it. There's a lot of scams in Vietnam, so you have to be very careful. But at the very least, they end up trusting me more. So it allows me to have that little bit of understanding that, hey, I know they're gonna try to scam me, so let me be on my toes. And at the very least, I know they're gonna trust me, assuming I'm not gonna scam them. Because I'm not, but at least it automatically allows them to trust me more. So I get a big leg up on that. And the pretty girl comment that he mentioned, I don't have to worry about that in Asia because it actually is in my favor to say those comments over there. Because he's completely right. I can't say it here, but I can say it over there, no problem. And it works out perfectly.
To a certain extent, yes.
Correct, to a certain extent, yes.
Yes. Okay, very good. Now, David, come back to you. You mentioned earlier you are planning to do some due diligence about opening up an operation in Tijuana, in Mexico. But right now, the situation is rather volatile. We don't know whether the tariff is going to move forward on April 2nd. Some of the items that is under the agreement of USMCA is still okay. But your type of packaging materials and all these operations is probably not covered in the USMCA. So in that case, how would it play a role in your decision when there's some uncertainty about the future, about this kind of cross-border transportation?
Yeah, what I'm doing, some people told me I'm going against the current. Right now, the current U.S. government is, I don't know. So the tariff is changing every day. I don't know. Tomorrow maybe we'll go down to zero. Who knows, right? So it's a chaos. This is the worst part, Professor. Actually, the problem is not the high tariff. If we know for sure the tariff will be 50% or 80% on goods from Mexico, China, we can always cost it into pricing. We can pass through. Consumers will have to pay for it. So we can still be competitive and profitable. So it's not the biggest. The biggest challenge is uncertainty around it. We don't know what's going to happen. But when I think in the time of uncertainty, to diversify your portfolio is actually more important. Right now, so surprisingly, U.S. government is using a tariff war against its ally. But in the long run, I don't think U.S. government will be more friendly with China than Mexico. So that's the main reason I still want to do this investment. We had an operation in Mexico before pandemic. We just shut it down because of difficulty of crossing border during pandemic. I still think it's very important. It's a strategic move to set up operation in Mexico. So with Mexico, US, and China, so we are in a good position to compete with anyone in this industry. So, just with the uncertainty, Professor, you told us in your classroom, right? So we in a time of volatility, you go back to the fundamentals, business fundamentals. Just make sure you have your agility, your flexibility. You make sure you can move fast when things happen, and run a more efficient operation to make sure your competitiveness. That's all you can do. And at the same time, when there's a volatility, to be careful with your leverage. So increase your safe inventory level, right? When the standard deviation is getting greater, it has significantly raised up the inventory level, including the cash reserve. Reduce your leverage, protect your quick ratio, current ratio on your balance sheet. Take care of your bottom line. Don't go too aggressive on leveraging up your operation.
I am super impressed. He remembered all the key lessons learned in the class. I have to check with our other alumni in the audience later. Yes, that's very good.
Go back to the fundamentals. You'll be fine.
I think that's what you raise a point is very life experience. When you're dealing with a lot of uncertainty, what can you do? Right? You don't know the tariffs, you don't know the tax, and keep changing all the time. So one way to do that is be flexible, agility. So you have operation in US, but the operating cost is higher. Mexico is still much cheaper. But then, if the tariff is very high, it may open new opportunities because your competitors may not be there, but you're there. Therefore, you can actually use Mexico as a base to expand in the Latin American markets because Costco and Walmart, they do quite well in the Latin American markets as well. So in that case, sometimes the investment uncertainty, it could be an opportunity for you as well. So in that case, I really find it very inspiring. Thank you. And now, then, in view of time, I'm going to move on. So we have heard a lot of success stories and lessons learned and all this. But then the question is in your mind, what are the key lessons you think you'd like to share with us that based on your less successful ventures? Because not everything you do is successful. Is there anything that you say, well, I wish I've done differently, knowing what I know now? Is there any lessons you can share with us? Sean, we'll start with you.
Several years ago, 2018, I think it was, I didn't do so well in my business at the time. I had a 7-figure loss in about 3 months, and I had the decision between giving up that business completely, doing a bankruptcy, moving on, and I thought about it. All my employees are the breadwinners of all their families. If I were to bankrupt my company and move on to something else, they would all have nothing to do. Their families would lose their homes, et cetera, et cetera. So at the time, I decided to not bankrupt the company, take up as many loans as possible, leverage my house, sell all my cars, pretty much put everything back in and completely pivot. And I'm very glad I did that because it allowed me to reignite to a completely different business model. I thought about doing that before I lost all that money, and I wish I had. A lot of people in the industry had told me, hey, things are changing, you need to pivot, and I ignored them. I'm like, no, you guys are wrong. I've been doing this for a long time. I know what I'm talking about. You're wrong. I was young. I was making money. I was honestly an idiot. And I didn't believe the advice of people who have been in it longer than I have. And I really wish I had listened to their advice and didn't, because I had never failed at that time. I was 27, 28, and every single year of my life I was making money. And I never believed I could fail. So in a way, I'm happy I failed because it taught me a big lesson that you can fail in life. And because I didn't listen to them, allowed me to lose 7 figures in 3 months, which really made me look at my life again, completely pivot and come back and make 7 figures again the year after. But if I hadn't lost that then, I wouldn't have been able to be where I am today. To start EV4All was a very risky adventure for me. I had to put a lot of money into it. I had to take a lot of risks to do it, but it was a calculated risk. Because I knew that failure is possible, before starting EV4All, I took a lot of measures to put money aside. Like you said, have reserves. I made a lot of reserves aside, made a lot of investments, such as Vietnam, other things, to have cash flow coming in before I started a startup. But if I had the same mindset I had when I was in my 20s, I would have assumed everything will work out. I don't have to worry about it. Let me just go straight forward. So we can fail. And I really wish I knew that when I'm in my 20s, that failure is possible.
Well, thank you for sharing us about these challenges you're facing. Of course, in life, sometimes you not always success, sometimes you fail. But I'm curious, to follow on that, when you're losing so much money, as for the first time, you was always successful, and only the first time it hit you big. Mentally, it's not financially, mentally, how do you cope with that? Because a lot of the time, I've seen people, they've been successful for their life. When the first failure hit, they cannot handle mentally. What do you do to cope with that?
I was very lucky that I had a great support system. Like my mother was a big support system for me. At the time, I was able to, I'm a big proportion, I think everyone should get therapy. So I had therapists who allowed me to control my emotions. As human beings, we pay money for nutritionists to pay us, how to eat this, eat that, or physical therapists to how to move your body. But people rarely pay a therapist to teach you how to manage your emotions. And I've been very lucky that I have had therapy long enough that a therapist has taught me how to manage my emotions, whether it's sadness, anger, etc. When I feel something, I understand where it's coming from so that I'll be able to regulate it and adjust it as needed. I'm not perfect, I'm human. But my therapist has allowed me to be able to regulate that as best as I can. So even though I lost all that and it was devastating, I understood where it came from. I understood why it happened. I understood the end result. But I also knew that if I stayed in that state of depression and that state of failure, I wouldn't be able to succeed. And as humans, we're smarter when we're happy and we're idiots when we're sad. And understanding that, I'm like, okay, I have to change my mindset. I need to be happy. Look, at least I'm alive, right? You can have 1,000 problems as long as you're healthy, but the moment you're unhealthy, nothing else matters. Only your health matters. So the fact that my body was healthy, I wasn't dying, I didn't have cancer, everything was fine, I had the ability to come up from it. And by being physically healthy, it allowed me to become mentally healthy, to be able to, basically within 7 months, turn a 7-figure loss into a 7-figure profit because I changed the mindset. But it wasn't alone. I had a fantastic team. My mother supported me. If I didn't have her, I didn't have my therapist, if I didn't have my support system, I don't think I would have done it alone. But being able to really change the mindset to realizing that if I kept in depression, nothing would have happened. And I support my mother, I support my father, I support my grandparents. So if I fail, they all fail. And I didn't want them to fail because of my failure. So I realized that, look, if I wanted my parents, my grandparents, etc. to be happy, I need to be happy. So my happiness drove me to be successful, drove me to change it.
Wow, this is very refreshing. That means that when you're in difficult time, so you need a team, and also to remind us it's not the end of the world. And also in terms of having your success, your failure, it's not only you, also the people surrounding you as well, right? That's very good. David, is there any story you can share with us? Have you ever encountered any failure? If you encounter any failure, how do you pick it up and continue your journey?
Failure on venturing new business, I don't actually have one, honestly. But I had my lessons. I get my horrible lessons in business. I get wounded all the time. But that would make me a successful businessman in a way, right? So you learn from lessons. My worst lesson, I would say, if you want to start a business, you want to build a team. You rely on your team to perform, but do not rely on specific individuals on the team. Losing some like a star team members could be disruptive if your whole running system is too much dependent on specific individuals. That's I had I think my most hurtful lessons, most devastating lessons I had from there. That's all I can tell. Just not only once, a couple of times. So I learned it now. You can build a strong team. Do not rely on every team got star members. I have very good. Sean know many of my star members of my teams here in the US and back in China. But you need to build a system to be prepared. That's the biggest lesson I learned from my history.
Well, thank you. So that basically, we really learned a lot from both of you. So let me just summarize the key things I learned. We just learned from you in terms of the team. That means that it's not just when you succeed, the whole team succeeds. When you fail, and also the team can back you up as well. So that's very important. You're not betting on the winning horse, you're betting on the team. Secondly, is that be humble, be curious, be willing to take calculated risk. That will take you a long way. So I really want to thank both of you for sharing your wonderful journey with us. So in real time, I'm going to turn over to the floor. So I would like you to come up to the microphone to tell us in terms of what kind of question you would like to ask Sean or David. So with the microphone.
So one thing, Sean, you mentioned it or alluded to it when you were talking about setting up business in Vietnam. And David, I think maybe you can speak to this as well, is that say you're an entrepreneur who sees an opportunity overseas. This is a two-part question. So first part is, is there some kind of evaluation that you do on whether a country in itself is even business friendly? Because not every country is as entrepreneurial as the United States. And so even if there might be an opportunity, it might be extremely difficult for like an American to break into that space. And then the second part of it was, say you do decide to go forward with it, where do you find these consultants that help you set up shop in another country? Thanks.
So for me, if I didn't have the Anderson network connection, I wouldn't have even considered it. So both of the answers to that really is you leverage your network. We have alumni, I think, in pretty much any major country in the world. Like I'm going to Japan in a couple of weeks, and there's a global immersion going there, and there's an alumni association happening there. I think Lucy told me there's like 20 people signed up for there. And I'm actually looking to buying property in Japan, and obviously I'm gonna connect to people over there. So to answer your question is find the network. It really, the fact that they know you're from here, especially if you're a student, they'll talk to you. And if you fly out to meet them, they'll definitely talk to you.
David, would you like something to add to that?
Yeah, so put it in a short way. Take a global immersion program, you'll find opportunity.
Yes.
I took my best experience with Anderson is with the Center for CGM. So I took 7 global immersion programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only, let me say this, not only the knowledge about the countries we visited, it also trained your intuition, the global perspective intuition. So the framework through which you can see opportunities, you can do your analysis. That's actually more important than the specific knowledge about the country. Oh, about India, we know the GDP per capita of South Africa. Not only that, it's actually, I benefited from it a lot. So
yeah, he actually hated me before CGM, by the way.
Make friends with Lucy, take a global immersion program as many as possible until Lucy is tired of seeing you. Yeah, do that. That's a serious advice.
No, you should. And you become friends with people for life. He really didn't like me before our Chile CGM trip, or the global immersion.
Well, that is our goal. Because the CGM, we have this kind of GI programs, so a global immersion, is we provide a supplement to your in-class experience to take you to different places with smaller group. So you actually get to know each other for a long time. So Sean said that they were not friends before the GI.
Oh, he didn't even like
GI
me.
Connected them, right? So that's very good.
You're humble. I'm not that I did not like you, I dislike you. Before the global immersion Chile trip, honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
Very good. All right, anyone on this side? Yes, please.
So this question is going to intentionally avoid David and speak to Sean, but it speaks to many of the themes that have been brought up tonight. So in this era of volatility, where some people as in firms are, and some firms are not, and there are opportunities developing. Sean, with Vietnam clearly not brought up in the rhetoric going on, there may be some big moves going towards other areas of manufacturing. How are you looking to take advantage of these opportunities? And then how also are you guarding against Vietnam if it comes up as the next axis of evil or whatever you want to call it?
So politically, I'm not going to answer anything, but I do think Vietnam is kind of how China was 20 years ago. A lot of factories are moving there. And through the Anderson network, I met an alum where I met someone else, I believe in the rule of 3. Everyone's max 3 people in a group. And they're building accommodations like large hotels near these factories that are being built. And I am having conversations with different individuals about investing in those businesses. And I wouldn't have met them if it wasn't for Anderson. So I met the alum, who I met someone at a party, who I met someone who went there. So to answer your question is yes, manufacturing is going there, business is going there, people are going to start traveling there. So that's one thing I'm looking into. And there's another business that I'm looking into, but I can talk to you offline.
So this is a bit of a question for both of you, starting with David. At the beginning, you talked about instinct versus strategy. And is there a place for both, or should you always rely more on strategy than business? We'll start there.
It's you are in this school. You are at Anderson doing MBA. Obviously, you already know how important the business mind training it is. How do I say it? So it's through the rational reasoning, build your professional intuition. Not just an animal instinct. So I'm hungry, I want to eat. So actually, if you are experienced enough, don't be afraid of failure. Go out, start a business. You get a lot of experience, and also be a good student, study hard. So build the tools you get from the school into your intuition. Instinctively, I feel like this is the opportunity. It's just, we make decisions, probably you already got from the class. So we make decisions most of the time based on the intuition instead of rational, sit down rational analysis. But the strategic planning, strategic training is very, very important to build unbiased intuition. So I don't know how to answer your hard question, but I think that's where you combine the college, the academic research knowledge, research knowledge into your put it in a practical way. Yeah.
And in a similar way for Sean, I think like you, humility is not my strongest suit. So if you were put in,
He's right.
if you were put in the same situation again, where you had advisors telling you, "Hey, we think your business plan is going to probably fail. You're close to going bankrupt." Are there things that you would do now in hindsight to kind of get you to drop a little bit of the ego to be accepting of that?
Oh, 100%. I've already made those changes. There is, like for EV4All, there were projects I was thinking about taking on, and I wanted to take them on. But I spoke to one of our advisors, who's an Anderson professor, and he made me realize it's away from our moat, it's away from our focus. And he's like, you may make money, but it's away from what you're focusing on, and you're deviating from what you're good at. It's better, and this is my point, not his, it's better to whole-ass something than half-ass it. So I'd rather whole-ass what I'm good at than half-ass 3 different things. So if this was 8 years ago when I was in my 20s, I would have ignored it. But after I've learned from it, and especially after the program, I realized, okay, I will still think about it, but I will go ask certain people, and then I'll take their opinions, and then I'll think about it, and at the end I make my own decision. But I take their advice to heart. And something David said about failure is, and him and I agree on this big time, it's better to try and fail than to never try at all.
I appreciate you guys for giving us so much game. I guess as an IMBO, one of the things I've appreciated most about just my time here, I'm a 26, so I'm just getting started, are the frameworks that we've been given. It's a completely different experience in my undergraduate business career, as it were. So I guess my question is, obviously, don't tell me your next thing that you're doing, but I really appreciate kind of hearing people that I look up to, or just people like professors, just talking about things that they're interested in, just in terms of I think for me, just having the germ of an idea has been very helpful, or just having a new way to kind of look at things, as we kind of go into capstone, or just really just decide what we want to do professionally after. It sounds like you guys kind of did something similar, but just in that, I guess, hopefully my question makes sense, but just really kind of is there anything that I thought that was kind of interesting, that'd be something, if I had more time or interest, I would look into it. Thank you.
Since you're EMBA 26, I'm going to answer your question and deviate a little bit too, and echo what he said. Since you're starting, you really need to take the global immersion courses. I'm not just saying as a CGM board member, like you really need to. They change your life. But I think it's called BCP now, or whatever it's called now, the Business Creation Program. BCO, whatever it's called, that program. That was why I launched EV4All, and how I would have not done Anderson any differently whatsoever. I'm very happy that the way I did Anderson with my classmates, the global immersions, BCO, Innovation Challenge, everything, it went exactly the way, I never thought it was gonna go this way, but it went perfectly, for me at least. The friends I made, the connection I made. One thing I've done differently than some other people is I've kept in contact with people very well, including my professors. I still, with one of my professors, I'm not gonna name him, I regularly have lunch with him once a month. Right, I got to pitch for Shark Tank last week, and he helped me on that. Right, and out of all the students that he has, he gets to help me. Right, he actually reached out to me, he's like, "Hey, do you want help?" And you really need to keep in contact with your professors. Like I keep in contact with Professor Tang. Right, keep in contact with your classmates, your professors, people. You're paying for the education, yes, but you're paying more for the network. And then when you go to global immersion, you meet the alumni. Stay in touch with them. Don't just get their emails. No, listen to their emails. Get their, if you're in Japan, get their Line. If you're in Korea, get their Kakao. If you're in, Vietnam, get their, Zalo. Figure out what that country uses and get that country's contact information for that person.
My question is, I'm curious about your how important the policy and regulation about deciding your business in other country. So I met two people. Some people said like they really care about policy and regulation, and if they're not convinced, they don't go and start business in the area. And I also met some people who just say, I'm gonna start business in that area because I like it, but I'll just find way to mitigate it. So I'm kind of curious, like which type of person you are and how do you think about it?
I think you know the answer to that question for both of us. It's the latter.
Yeah. But how did you make sure you can mitigate all the risks?
I mean, everything is calculated risk. Like David, when he came here, he said he studied America before he came here, right? Sure, Hollywood is not real America, but he still studied books, he looked into things, he studied it before he came. So it was a calculated risk. But nonetheless, it was still, a risk nonetheless. Same for me, like when I went to Vietnam, I enjoyed the culture, I enjoyed the people. Every problem has a solution, you just have to find it.
Okay.
Right, and you have to find the people who help you to find it.
This is, sorry, but this is very interesting because I studied Vietnam market with David, and the corruption in Vietnam market is big.
Oh, it's fucking huge. Oh.
Was a big issue, big topic we covered. So I would, if I were in shoes, I would really consider seriously about those issues. But
why is it an issue? You think you use it to your advantage?
Oh, okay, that's a different perspective. Because I always thought as a foreigner,
every problem has a solution. If it's a problem, find the solution. If you can't go around it, join it.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Well, I think this is also one comment. A lot of time, yes, for new countries in the market you're not familiar with, there are risks. But on the other hand, bear in mind, if there's no risk, how do you get return? Because you are not the first one enter the market. So you have to say that, well, given there's some risk, calculated risk, do you have a better chance to actually can beat your competitors to get something out of it? That's what Sean talked about. Can you get the ground intelligence through your network so that you can actually have competitive advantage over other people? They're so shy away from understanding the ground. So I think that is very important. That's why we have this session tonight, because this kind of lessons you don't find in the book. Definitely not in the Hollywood movies, right? So therefore, I think this kind of discussions, this kind of sharing is so important. So that's why I want to thank both of them. Any interview time, last comment on this side. Anyone?
A question for both of you. So many of the people here are people who are interested in getting into investment overseas or entrepreneurship overseas and are starting from nothing. They don't have the basis of experience overseas that you both have. So based on your experience, if you were starting from nothing, if you were starting brand new today, and you had to choose either a country or a region of the world and an industry in the world that you wanted to focus on, where you thought was a really exciting opportunity, just based on where the world is right now, what country or region would you choose? What industry would you choose?
Because of the geopolitical dynamics, a lot of companies are having a China plus one strategy. That plus one brings a lot of energy to like Asian countries, like Vietnam and India. So I did a global immersion India and a global immersion Vietnam, South Africa, a lot of countries. I think those 2 countries, for me, business-wise, very exciting. It's noisy, messy, dirty, so sometimes you get confused by the rules or you don't know they're serious about the rules. A lot of confusion there, but a lot of opportunities. That remind me a lot about China 30 years ago. It's happening. It won't be easy. It won't be like that clear rules like it is in the United States, but a lot of opportunities there. So I can tell in next 10 to 20 years, a lot of exciting stories will happen there. But in the long term, that's a different story. But just short and mid-term, good opportunity there. Whatever you do, whatever industry, honestly.
Sean, what's your pick?
I would agree with him. I'd echo on Vietnam for sure. I think Vietnam is China 20, 30 years ago. And look at China
Absolutely.
now, right? If you had invested in China 20, 30 years ago, you'd be fantastically well off. So that's kind of why I got into Vietnam and why it caught my interest. I had an opportunity to get into China in 2007 or 8. And I'm like, why would I get into China? It's so stupid. I regret it big time.
So this is a very good point because right now a lot of companies, they are truly looking into Vietnam and India because of friendshoring in terms of friendly countries. Now, besides these 2, maybe I will pick another 2 for further considerations. If I pick, it would be like right now is Vietnam and India too hot. So there are many people rushing there.
There are.
So that could create a lot of competition. The other one is actually up and coming. Something you may want to consider is Malaysia. Malaysia is actually next to Singapore, and they still the regulations, rule and orders is more better structure than India and Vietnam. So, but on that hand, they also want to aspire to grow as well. So I think that is something to think about. All right, in view of time.
Wait, one other country.
Yes.
I think we went to Peru together, and now that they have the port over there, and they're going to be able to expand more with all the Chinese money. I don't know anything about LATAM, but I think, especially if you connect with Professor Edwards, I think Chile and Peru down there may be fantastic with the new port.
Good, very good. All right, we'll end it here. And on this note, I want to thank our both guests for sharing the insights and wisdom with us. And I want to thank all of you and for your time as well. Thank you.